I'm going to call this meeting to order, but before I do that, I just want to announce that this is the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission. It's a meeting Tuesday, July 1, 2025. It's being held via Zoom beginning at 8:45 a.m. And the meeting will be replayed via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live video on-demand archives on the Town of Barnstable's website. So you can go to that if you missed the meeting or if you want to review anything that is discussed. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a meeting of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. I don't see anyone else on the lines. So with that being what I'm viewing, I'm sure everybody else is seeing the same thing. We will do a roll call. Suzanne.
Certainly. Chairman Flores?
Here.
Vice Chairman Gio is not here as of yet. Clerk Weil?
Here.
Commissioner Beerworth?
Here.
Commissioner Bailey?
Here.
Commissioner DeGeorge?
Here.
Commissioner Melo?
Here.
And Yarmouth Rep. Christine Greeley?
Here.
And we do have a quorum.
Okay, and someone just joined us by the name of Ron.
Yes. Could we get an identification just for my minutes?
Sure. Ron, could you tell us who you are? Ron, you're muted and you don't have a video on.
My name is Ron Price. My video is off.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
And Ron, are you a Barnstable resident?
No, I am not.
Where are you a community resident, a contiguous community? So we know we have a record.
I'm just interested in what's happening today.
Okay. All right, I'm going to ask folks to stand and please say the Pledge of Allegiance, which we traditionally do before our meetings. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to jump right into old business. This is SCOM 0625-1. It's to review and approve Pierce Cote advertising contract year 3 option renewal in the amount of $72,000 for fiscal year 2026. Norm, would you make that motion, please?
Yes, sir. This is a motion to approve amendment number 2 to the Pierce Cote advertising on-call communications management and community outreach services for fiscal year 2026. The services in the amount of $72,000. The sponsor is the Finance Subcommittee, and it may be acted upon. Need a second.
Second.
Okay, the motions were made with a second. Interim Manager Nelson, any comments regarding this? Any discussion?
Yes, good morning all. And most requirements of the request for proposal or RFP have been carried out or discussed with me by Pierce Cote since I've been the interim manager. Unfortunately, with a 40-hour per month or 10-hour per week restriction, there are only so many services we're going to receive for those 40 hours. As I see it, and unfortunately, it appears this contract has been structured like the Airport Solutions Group and HRP Associates, to name recent ones, in which the contracts lack details and there is no cost or relatively low cost monetary consideration. And then the costs are increased with amendments for additional services. Since I've been here, I've received over $361,980.66 in invoices from Airport Solutions Group for their work they performed on the hard stand project, engineering work that hasn't been started, and $30,265.99 for the runway 624 reconstruction.
Mike,
Yes.
I can hold you. This is regarding Pierce Cote.
It all ties in. It's a matter of how we're overseeing some contracts. The contracts I just mentioned, or the amounts, have no contracts.
So we just stay focused on Pierce Cote, please.
Okay. And let me see. So there appears to be minimal scrutiny of those contracts, but Pierce Cote a year ago had a lot of scrutiny. That's all I'll say to that. This 1-year extension cost $72,000 or $320,000 less than the two I just mentioned. The return on investment we're getting for this contract in light of our $14.4 million of revenue in 2025 is very good for the size of the contract. The structure of the contract we have entered into with them is like a consultant or attorney on retainer, and they're there for the day-to-day stuff, website updates and input of management for social media contacts, special events, press releases, PR training, and crisis relations in standby mode. They're like an air traffic controller or a firefighter. The current contract is more akin to having an attorney on retainer instead of an advertising and marketing contract. Previous management over the last couple of years, and this is in light of the feedback I've been getting for people saying we should be getting more from them. And the management spent tens of thousands of dollars in the previous years on marketing and advertising outside of Pierce Cote's contract. This fiscal year, or the one that just passed and ended yesterday, fiscal year 25, we've only spent 41.6 of our marketing and advertising budget outside of Pierce Cote, and it appeared to stop when the previous manager announced their resignation. In addition, the current website costs $29,800 in fiscal year 2021. A quick Google search revealed basic website design costs $5,000 to $40,000 for just a basic website. Mid-range website with some functionality costs $40,000 to $75,000, and an advanced website $75,000 to in excess of $145,000. Seeing the cost of $29,800 in fiscal year 21, not adjusted for inflation, the current Pierce Cote contract definitely does not cover the cost of a website upgrade or structural changes to our website. We're at a point where we either retain Pierce Cote with the exercise of their last option year or go without the services of a media communications company until a new request for proposal and a new contract is executed, which will take months. I believe Pierce Cote is a very good company, as demonstrated by the superb American Airlines inauguration event that some of you attended, and it was spearheaded by Pierce Cote. We need the services of Pierce Cote for fiscal year 2026 so that no interruption in our current media and marketing occurs. We are working with a very good media company, and I see no reason to change that currently. I will improve communications with Pierce Cote to ensure each party understands the needs within the framework of the agreement and optimize results. I recommend exercising the 1-year option in the amount of $72,000 beginning today, July 1st, and ending June 30th, 2026.
Thank you, Michael. Any comments or questions from any members of the commission?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, not hearing any. I'll call this for this vote. All those in favor of SCOM 0625-1 signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is a vote. We'll move on to SCOM 0625-2. It's to review and approve the Pierce Cote marketing advertising proposal in the amount not to exceed $1,000. Commissioner Bailey, could I ask you to make that motion, please?
SCM 0625-2, motion to approve the Pierce Cote Summer Special Media Plan to increase awareness of the flights to travelers on Cape Cod, Philadelphia, and Chicago areas and increase traffic to the Cape Cod Gateway Airport website in the not to exceed amount of $1,000 to promote all current American Airlines and JetBlue destinations. Sponsors, the Finance Subcommittee may be acted upon.
Have a second, please.
Second.
Okay, motion is made. This second, it's been voted by the Finance Subcommittee. Interim Manager Nelson, any comments on this?
Yes, please. And with the permission of you, Mr. Chairman, and the commissioners, I request permission to discuss this and SCOM 0625-2A together due to the similarities and it'll say repetition of discussion, and the recommendations are the same.
Okay, because the meeting has been, the agenda has been posting as two separate
Okay,
motions, we will vote them independent of each other, but you can speak to both.
thank you. As previously stated, management over the last couple of years spent a lot of money above and beyond Pierce Cote contract on digital and radio campaigns. Marketing and advertising are missing the mark, mostly due to no digital or radio campaigns within the last 6 to 7 months. This effort of SCOM 0625 and 2 and 2A are to try to capture as many customers as possible. Although very recently, the Google searches I've done for Cape Cod Gateway Airport have improved, I believe our exposure needs much more improvement with a strategic approach instead of a reactionary one. Passenger traffic has steadily increased since June 19th. Unfortunately, in conversations with Pierce Cote and some personal research, I'm not sure if we will receive a good return on the $1,000 investment in each of these initiatives. Due to limited reach and engagement of our social media account. Year-to-date, social media views and reach appear to be trending up only slightly. Link clicks and Facebook page visits and follows are relatively flat. So we're not seeing improvement in any of those three categories. But these metrics are what I consider very low numbers, whether we're trending the same or we're flat. In combination with my commentary on the previous subject, I recommend not moving forward with this expenditure based on year-to-date trends, and the season is already in full swing. The return on investment will be poor, I believe, and the goal of increasing awareness will not be achieved to a level that will provide measurable increased passenger traffic.
Okay. And so you're suggesting SCOM 0625-2 and 2A not be approved.
Correct.
Okay. This was discussed at the Finance Committee. Any questions or concerns from the Finance Committee?
Not specifically for this, other than a general comment that I think as we move forward, I think we need to be looking at things like this. And I think we spend a lot of time on $1,000, $2,000 small items that are within the budget. And we should come up with a different policy that allows the manager to make expenditures without our approval within a guideline range. Takes a lot of time, a lot of effort on our part. I want to give the manager as much flexibility as possible to react under fire.
Thank you, Norm. Points well taken. Anybody else have a comment they would like to make on these two issues? Commissioner Bearwith, you're on mute.
You're
Commissioner
mute.
Bearwith, you're on mute.
You're mute.
You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Still mute.
There
you
we go. My concern about not approving it, even if it's not as effective as it might be, is that how it'll be perceived by American Airlines and JetBlue. It's $2,000 and a rather, just a small portion of our budget, and I'm just concerned with the impression that it will leave with the airlines.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bearwith. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion with a second discussion. It's recommended by the manager that we not approve 0625-2 nonetheless. A difference of opinion, so I will call for this vote. All those in favor of approving 0625-2, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
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 I also do. Those opposed? Okay, then we have just approved SCOM 0625-2 in the amount of $1,000. I'm going to move right to SCOM 0625-2A. This is to review and approve the Pierce Cote marketing advertising proposal in the not to exceed amount of $1,000. Commissioner Bearwith, can I ask you to make that motion for us, please?
Certainly. Motion to approve the Pierce Cote Summer Social Media Plan to increase awareness of the flights to travelers in New York City and Washington DC areas and increase traffic to Cape Cod Gateway Airport's website in the not to exceed amount of $1,000 to promote all current American Airlines and JetBlue destinations. Sponsor Finance Subcommittee and may be acted upon.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made. We have a second. Do you want to add any other comments, Mike, to what you already said?
No,
This
thank
is for
you.
2A.
Well, I'll
Okay.
just say thank you for all the comments and the thorough input and thought into all these subjects this morning.
Okay, anybody else on the commission would
Mr.
like to make a
Chairman, I
comment?
just want to say I really appreciate the intermanager's view on this, and I appreciate his focusing on a strategic direction. Even though we are saying we'd like to go forward with this, I appreciate his concern for money, and I appreciate his global view. And I think as we move forward, we're going to see a direction that reflects that. So.
Anybody else, Commissioner Mayhew?
Yes, I just want to reiterate a point made before that this in no way would dissuade me from giving the manager leeway with regard to certain budget items.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'll just make one comment. I too appreciate interim manager Nelson's overview of some of these contracts that's been ongoing for a while now. He's done a great job. Nonetheless, I think for the $2,000 that we'll be expending, personally, I think it's money well spent, only to be sure that American Airlines and JetBlue get as much advertising and as much media support as possible, because we're trying to build this above and beyond a seasonal, so that hopefully eventually we'll have an annual, at least maybe 1 or 2 day landing from and arrival from American and even JetBlue. So with that being said, I don't see any other comments. We'll call for this vote. This is SCOM 0625-2A. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that is a unanimous vote. And we will move on to new business. The new business today is candidate interviews for the airport manager selection. It is now approximately 9:02, 9:03. And I'm going to ask that we go into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law,
No,
Chapter 38, Section 21.
point
To
of order.
discuss.
Point
Yes,
of order. No, we're not going into executive session yet. The interviews are in public session.
oh, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah, I was ahead. I was just following an order of the agenda. It shouldn't have been there. Excuse my jumping to the executive session because there'd be nothing to discuss at this point. So going into public session, this is COM 0625-1A. It's the possible approval of the selection of
Nope.
airport man. No,
Nope.
what are we doing?
Wait,
Why is
number
this,
5.
why is this out of order?
Number 5, new business. It says candidate interviews for the airport manager selection,
Followed by executive, okay,
followed by executive session.
all right, we will begin the airport,
Okay, I'm going to let Robert Van Berg into the meeting whenever you're ready.
okay. Okay, is everybody ready to proceed? That,
Yes.
the way the agenda was listed there, I got a little confused. I apologize for that. Anyone have any issues before we invite Mr.
Mike.
Van Berg in?
Mike needs to jump off.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, all right. There you go.
Good
Well,
morning,
Mr.
Robert.
Morning.
I'll let you kick it off. See, you've been in touch with him. I haven't yet.
Morning, Robert. Thanks for joining. This is the interview for the Hyannis Airport Manager or Cape Cod Gateway Airport. Thank you for joining us. And I guess we'll go around the virtual room and introduce ourselves. I'm Sia Schatz. I'm with 80K. And John?
Yes, my name is John Flores. I am chairperson of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission. And Norm?
Norman Weil. I'm a commissioner. I'm chairman of the finance subcommittee and been on the airport commission for about 7 years.
Joe?
Hi, I'm Joe DeGeorge, Airport Commissioner and Chairperson of the Marketing and Infrastructure Subcommittee.
Brad?
I'm Bradley J. Bailey. I'm an attorney in Hyannis, and I have been on the finance subcommittee for 5 years.
Wendy?
Wendy Beerworth, Commissioner for about 7 years, primary background in business corporate aviation.
And Marguerite?
Margaret Malo, Commissioner recently since last year. And
Okay,
that's it.
okay, great. Okay, that is those are our
Excuse me?
commissioners. And yeah, hold on a
Thank you.
second, Christine, please.
Okay.
Those are our commissioners. We also have a non-voting appointed member from the town of Yarmouth who serves in an advisory position on our commission, and that is Christine Greeley. Christine, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning. I'm Christine Greeley from Yarmouth. Been a resident of Yarmouth for 44 plus years.
Thank you, Chris. I would never not recognize you, so not to worry.
Thank you.
And finally, as I said, John Flores, I didn't say what I did. My background was in education. I'm a retired school superintendent and university dean provost. So all of that being said, do you prefer to be called Mr. Vanberg, Robert, or Rob, or Bob? How do you want us to address you this morning?
Rob or Robert is fine. Say Mr.
Okay.
Bamberg, I still look around for my dad somewhere.
Okay, I'll call you Robert. Robert, it's my grandson's name. Robert, welcome to the virtual interview this morning. You now know who we are. We're basically going to go around and ask you a series of questions. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the airport. We are the Cape Cod Gateway Airport located in Hyannis, Massachusetts. We are a gateway really to the world with the inclusion of American Airlines and JetBlue coming into us on a seasonal basis. Our goal eventually is to have them on a year-round basis. And we're an interesting combination of responsibilities. Not only are we an airport that has the traditional kinds of operations, but we're also a landlord. We happen to own a strip of land that has a very popular shopping mall. We sell a lot of fuel, so in many ways we are an independent purveyor of airline fuel. Lots of flights coming in, so we're going to need someone with a background that understands all of those aspects of it. You seem to have a lengthy background, and perhaps begin. I'll ask the first question: is what experience have you had managing an airport or a similar kind of facility? And I'd ask you to keep your remarks probably to a couple of minutes because we have 7 members of the commission and all of them have a question or two to ask. And then after a formal question, if there's time permitting, any commissioner that has a question that they might want to ask, they can.
Sure.
Only the commissioners will be asking questions.
All right, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And good morning, Mr. Chairman and commissioners and the advisor. So in response to your question, throughout my history, I have been in the last 20 years in leadership positions, either a manager or a hire. Most recently with the Rhode Island Airport Corporation as Senior Vice President of Operations. Not just responsible for one airport, but for 6 airports throughout the state of Rhode Island. In San Antonio as the airport operations manager, I was for the majority of the time responsible for the operations of the international airport in San Antonio. In Toronto as the airfield manager, again, operations of the airfield of a large hub international airport. So all of this, in a very short answer, is my last 20 years in management has prepared me to operate as a airport manager, as the leader of an airport organization.
And where was Metropolis located again?
So I was working for Metropolis in San Antonio at the airport as a regional manager.
Okay. Okay. Norm, I guess I was just gonna go in order. Commissioner
Okay.
Gio, who was the deputy chair of the commission, will be joining us a little bit later. So Norm will go to you, and then followed by
Okay.
Joe, followed by
Uh,
Brad, followed by Wendy, followed by Marguerite.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us and for your submission. You'll be new to our community. What is your strategy to gain the trust and respect of airport staff and community leaders? Give us an example of how you have achieved that in the past. We have a small cohesive group of employees and we have a community that is actively engaged in the operation of this airport. So it's important that we understand the philosophy and methods of the people that we bring on board.
Sure, absolutely. This is outreach. Not just staff, but the community as a whole is outreach. Get out there, get them to know me as a person, get them to know me as a professional, get them to know me as an airport manager. It's dialogue, it's communication, it's getting to know people. Same with the staff, getting to know them on a regular basis, on a daily basis, on a personal basis. I'm not just the suit, but I'm a living, breathing human being just the same as they are. I have experiences throughout my career that I can relate to them. Very early on in my career, I was a bus driver, I was aircraft loader, security screener, flight attendant. In the airport business, heavy equipment operator, supervisor, foreman, and so on. So I've got the experience to relate to them on a one-to-one level. At the same time, in meeting with the community, outreach to them, letting them know that, hey, we're partners in this. This is not an us versus them atmosphere. We're a partner in your community. And we want to be both a good partner and a good steward of it, but I also want to be open and approachable. It's the same process I used in Rhode Island, getting to know the staff, getting to know the community. Used to sit in San Antonio when I moved there, getting to know the airlines, getting to know the staff, getting to know the tenants, getting to know the community as well too. It's constant communication, outreach, and being approachable.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner DeGeorge?
Okay, good morning, Robert. Based on your knowledge, which you have tons of knowledge on airports, what would be your top 3 priorities for this position? And what added value contributions would you make in the first 90 days of operation?
Well, first off, I want to get to know the people in charge of both American Airlines and JetBlue on the local level. Start the dialogue with them as to what the commissioner or the chairperson said. We want to eventually get them into a year-round service. We want to open up that dialogue early on and get that going, get that talking to them about that, and make sure that we constantly have that on the forefront. And second, again, it's dialogue, it's communication, getting to know the staff, getting to know the people, getting to know the community, and getting them to know me. And of course, the first few days for me is going to be, even before I get there, if I'm successful in this and you choose me as your next airport manager, finding a place to live and moving into the community. And again, getting to know my neighbors, getting them to know me. And that's the same philosophy in the first 90 days, getting to know the people and getting them to know me. Goes back to the last question, the communication and the outreach. It's a constant communication. It's being visible, it's being public, and it's being approached.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bailey?
I'm going to pass for now.
Okay. Commissioner Bearwith?
You're muted.
Yeah,
You're muted.
sorry, I have to learn how to do that. May I just very briefly mention also on the screen, you'll see Suzanne Kennedy, who is an extremely important part of our team. And I just was wondering if very briefly Suzanne could introduce herself to Robert.
Thank you, Wendy. Hi, Robert. I'm Suzanne Kennedy. I am the executive assistant to the airport management, and I have been here for almost 33 years at the airport. So I bring a lot of knowledge. Thanks.
Awesome.
She is our resident historian and keeper of the records.
Absolutely.
That's somebody I'll be leaning heavily on if I'm chosen for this position.
Absolutely. My question is, if you would please describe your experience in developing and managing capital and operating budgets that align with your organization's vision and objectives.
Sure. So I've been doing budgeting since 2001 when I first got promoted to a manager in Toronto. And as laughable as it is, my first budget was for $40,000. It was literally a crew budget, and it was to take care of emergency situations that come up throughout the operation, especially if it happened on a holiday weekend or something like that, so that the crew manager had source of funds to look after out of the ordinary incidents. From that point on, progressively got larger and larger budgets. My last budget in San Antonio when I left there was around $35 million for operations and airfield maintenance. In Rhode Island, of course, like I said, with 6 airports, budgeting for not just PVD for the operations and maintenance of that, but for the other 5 GA airports, along with Quonset Point, which is a joint use with the Rhode Island Air National Guard. So there's budgeting that happens, and it's not in a silo, especially when you're working with the Air National Guard on that. So you got to work closely with them to make sure that your priorities align and that the maintenance aligns so that you're both getting the biggest bang for your buck. For the other GA airports, to ensure that we're maintaining them to a level that is required by not just the FAA, but the tenants and the users as well. And to ensure that our budgeting is realistic, it is usable. It's no point in creating a budget that falls short every year and you're always asking for extensions. You want to have it realistic. You don't want to pad it so badly that you've got millions of dollars left over at the end of the year. You want to make sure that you're budgeting, because your budget, the money's not coming from taxpayers, but it is coming from the users of the airport, from the airlines, from the FBO, from fuel sales, things like that. So you want to make sure that you're being a good steward of that money so that it's being used appropriately, it's being used effectively, but at the same time, you're managing your dollars correctly. So that if it's going to cost, let's say, $1.5 million to do a complete overhaul of the painting of the airport, that the quotes that you're working on to do that show a reflection of the actual costs, not inflated guesstimates. That's the worst way to budget, is with a guesstimate. That's great if you're just planning it out and then work it down to an actual number, but to make sure that you're realistic in your expectations, you're realistic in your goals, and you're realistic in both capital and expense. If there's equipment that's needed, the worst thing you can do is get something that's too small for what you need. You've spent a lot of money on a piece of equipment that doesn't do what you need it to do. And at the same token, you don't want to get something that's so overly oversized for your need that it's almost unusable because it's too big again. So again, making sure that we're being effective, we're being efficient, and we're being good public stewards of the money.
Thank you, Robert.
Commissioner Bailey, have you question at this point? No. Okay. All right. I have a question, another one, relative to where our airport is located. We've had some PFAS related issues as a result of the fire training academy that is contiguous, it's adjacent to where we are located, and we have some PFAS plumes that we've been dealing with. 2 questions. One, have you had any experience in mitigating those kinds of issues at other airports? And secondly, There is always any neighborhood that's close by an airport always has concerns about noise and flight patterns and things of that nature. What experience have you had in that area, and what have you done to mitigate concerns of local residents?
All right, so let's start off with the PFAS. Yes, I've had that experience in both San Antonio and in Rhode Island. As we all have experienced, PFAS has quickly become forefront into everybody's lexicon in an airport over the last 5 to 6 years. In San Antonio, it was a case of where has the fire department been? Where's the fire station been located? It's moved 3 times in San Antonio. There's been 3 different training areas, but they're also tracking every incident that ever happened that where foam had been discharged throughout the PFAS days. Track that. Work on mitigation plans. What was our mitigation plan for the training area where the current fire station is? And with Rhode Island, we went through the same thing. Went through the same exercise where the fire station had been, where the fire station currently is, where the training areas have been, where every incident had been, and what was the mitigation if we had to get to that point. Where were we going to go? And the biggest mitigation at this point for most airports has been getting rid of the PFAS that is currently on either on the trucks and or in stock, and changing it out, cleaning the trucks to a point where you no longer have cross-contamination between F3 and PFAS, AFFF. After that, any ground mitigation, that has definitely have to work closely with both the FAA and the EPA on that to ensure that when we do mitigate, we go down deep enough and that we're getting all of the contaminant out of the soil. Second question, or second part to that with noise mitigation. Every airport has noise mitigation. Every airport has a noise committee. And of course, there's folks in the community who an airplane flies over, they're calling. We have all experienced that. Again, this is outreach. This is talking to them, working with the FAA on approved flight paths in and out of the airport. If there's a noise ban time frame that the airport has enacted, for instance, no jets after midnight until 5 a.m. Things like that. Work with those parameters, work with the community, and ensuring that we both meet the needs and calm the fears, as well as, again, going back to our very first question, open dialogue and communication, constant communication, and make sure that they understand that we hear them, we understand where their concerns are. Here's what we're doing to mitigate those concerns as much as possible.
Thank you, Robert. Other questions from any of the commissioners?
Nope.
Commissioner DeGeorge?
Yeah, Robert, I want to briefly go back to your resume, just for some clarification. You show here that you were in Rhode Island, April 22 to August 24. Then you show regional manager West Airports, and then you show Metropolis. Metropolis, you have a date. So Metropolis, you've been with there 9 months. Rhode Island, you were there for 2 years and 4 months. But this regional manager, how long were you there for, and what was your actual title or position there?
Okay, so that was with Metropolis. So, sorry, I guess that wasn't quite clear enough, but I was a regional manager for West Airports with Metropolis for 9 months. My duties were to oversee the parking operations for 5 different airports: San Antonio, Austin, Northwest Arkansas, Omaha, Nebraska, and Fresno, California. So I worked closely with the general manager of each location to ensure that their operations were working to the Metropolis SP Plus standards, that budgeting was correct, was submitted to the client on time, that they were operating within their budgets, and if there was any sort of exceedance, the explanations were given back to the president on why we're going to exceed and what the reasons were, what the expected exceedance was going to be. Similarly, if there's going to be a shortfall in revenue, what was the expected shortfall? Why was there an expected shortfall? And again, that's brought up to corporate.
Okay, and you said regional is part of Metropolis?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from any commissioners? Commissioner Weil?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've been asking a lot of questions. Do you have any questions of us?
So I've done a lot of digging into your airport, and I just had a couple of questions. One, how quickly did you want to staff this position? And two, is there going to be a moving allowance? Neither one of them are how can I put this? Neither one of them are a do or die. It's just something I would like to know.
Robert, I can answer that for you. As a commission as a whole, we are moving quickly to make this happen. So the answer is much sooner than later. And relative to any kind of moving expenses or salaries and things of that nature, that would be all subject to negotiations. So we wouldn't take a position either way at this point in a public interview, but everything's negotiable.
I appreciate that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, Commissioner Bailey, I think you had a question.
I do. Robert, can you tell us about your crisis management experience?
Sure. So I have been over my career, I've had to unfortunately attend to 14 different aircraft accidents throughout my career. My first one was Air France in 2005 in Toronto, which was an A340 that crashed on landing, 309 souls on board, 0 fatalities. Part of my job in that was to round up the passengers and take them to a secure location so they could be processed by both customs, EMS, and police, and as a result of the accident. Between that, throughout my career, like I said, there's been 14 of them, unfortunately. Of that 14, 9 of them are commercial. The remaining of the 5 are GAs. 3 of them were fatal. The rest of them were either gear up landings or it was a bad landing that ended up crashing, and no fatalities, but pretty much the airframe was written off. So crisis management for me is I've had the FEMA training. So FEMA 100, 200, 300, 400, 700, and 800. It's almost second nature for me to work the crisis from that FEMA operational mindset. For instance, if there was an alert 3 in San Antonio, I would respond as the manager. My supervisor would continue their role. I would liaison between the airport information command center and boots on the ground to make sure that the correct information was getting in a timely manner back and forth, as well as supervising the work going on to get the airport back to full operational status. April 2021, we had an active shooter in San Antonio. Responded to that as well too. Worked closely with the airport director and my boss to ensure that the cleanup was done in a quick, timely manner, and we got the airport open again. So crisis management is kind of second nature. It's through multiple times having done this, it's effectively managing the situation and making sure that the people on the ground have the tools they need to get the job done, and you intercede when needed and take command as appropriate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I see that Vice Chairman Gio has joined us. Mark, welcome aboard. Before we bring this interview to closure, is there anything that you might want to ask the candidate, Robert Vanberg? And you are
No,
muted.
other than I apologize for not being able to join earlier, Robert. I had a pressing meeting that was supposed to end at 9 o'clock and it ran over half an hour. So my apologies, but I have full faith in the rest of the commission, and I'm sure they will steer us well.
Appreciate
Okay,
that. Sorry, I apologize. I do understand, but the meeting's running over.
As this one is going to run over a few minutes, probably each interview will. I just have one final quick question, and you can limit it to a brief answer. But I'm just curious: have you, in your research for this particular position, have you gone to the Town of Barnstable website, watched any of our meetings that are available online? That's question number one. And question number two: what do you see based on your own research? What you mentioned that you did look into who we are and what we're about. What do you see as our biggest challenge?
So, yes, I've looked at a couple of the meetings on the website. What I see is the challenge is something that you mentioned this morning about getting year-round airline service. That's one of the big steps. Bigger challenges we have right now. That and hearts and minds, basically. Every airport has that issue. There's always going to be a group of folks that are dead set against the airport, and it's a matter of constant communication. I know this is almost the theme that I've been talking about for the last half hour, but it is truly winning the hearts and minds of the community, including the people that don't like the airport. It's being open and honest with them and understanding their point of view and getting them to a point where they can understand our point. We may never ever get to a point where we're going to hug it out, but it comes to a point of mutual respect on both sides.
Thank you, Robert. Closing comments from anyone or Mr. Vanberg, any issues that you want to close with?
No, sir, I don't have any issues.
Okay. Well, Robert, thank you for the time, the effort, the energy. We welcome your application, and it will be seriously considered when we do go into executive session at some point today. And thank you for taking the time and being prepared. And we look forward to communicating with you in the not too distant future.
Well, I appreciate that all. And again, Chairman, committee members, and the advisor, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much for meeting with me. And in close, I just want to say I really hope I'm your guy.
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Robert.
Okay.
Ladies and
As
gentlemen.
we take 1 minute to refresh a cup of coffee or grab a bottle of water, our next candidate that we will be interviewing is Sean Driscoll. Does anybody need a moment? If not, we will ask Suzanne to let him in, and we will begin the same process.
Morning, John.
Good morning.
Can you turn your camera on?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh, say start video. Can you guys hear me
Okay.
and see me okay?
Yep,
Yes,
you can
yes,
now.
very good. Good morning, and thank you, Sean, for your patience. Welcome to the Cape Cod Gateway Airport interview for airport manager, Shads. And we're going to go around the room and introduce the members of the commission that are on this call.
Okay.
John?
Yes, thank you, Sia. My name's John Flores. I am the chairman of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission. And so welcome to Cape Cod via a virtual Zoom meeting this morning.
Pleasure, sure.
Commissioner Gio is our vice chair.
Hi, Sean. Welcome to the interview process. Appreciate you taking the time. I'm Mark Keto. I'm the vice chair of the commission.
Commissioner Lyle.
I'm Norm Weil. I'm a commissioner. I've been a commissioner for over 7 years. I'm chairman of the finance subcommittee. My background is primarily financial and technology, but I've been a user of the airport for 50 years.
Pleasure, sir.
Commissioner DeGeorge.
Hi, Sean. I'm Joe DeGeorge, Commissioner and Chairperson of the Marketing and Infrastructure Subcommittee, and been with them for 4 years.
All right. Good morning, George.
Joe.
Sorry.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes, my name is Brad Bailey. I'm an attorney in Hyannis. I'm on the finance subcommittee, and I've been with the commission for 5 years.
Good morning, sir.
Commissioner Bearworth.
I am Wendy Beerworth. I've been with the commission for about 7 years. I'm on the infrastructure commission committee, and my primary background is in corporate aviation.
Good morning, Wendy.
Commissioner Melo.
My name is Margaret Malo. I'm a new commissioner since last year, but previously served during the 9/11 times and on the committee to redesign the airport. So I'm back again.
Okay, and Christine Greeley, why don't you introduce yourself?
You're muted.
I had done that to keep myself from breathing heavily into the cameras earlier. I'm Christine Greeley. I'm a representative for the town of Yarmouth. I've been a resident of the town of Yarmouth for over 44 years.
Thank you, Chris. And finally, Suzanne.
Good morning. My name is Suzanne Kennedy. I am in the position of executive assistant to the airport manager, and I've been with the airport almost 33 years.
Okay, and Sean, Suzanne knows where everything is buried and where all the records are, so she's a key player in anything that goes on at the airport. With that being said, I mentioned earlier, my name's John Flores, and I am chair, and I'm a retired school superintendent and dean and provost of a university in your neighborhood, Nova Southeastern University. I lived in your neck of the woods for a number of years.
It's
So
literally like 2 miles from my house. So yeah.
Exactly. So I know that area quite well as Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood Airport, having traveled there many times. But with that being said, we have about 30 minutes. We probably will go over as we did with the first candidate. I want to first and foremost welcome you to the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission interview process. We're going to go around and have a series of questions being asked by each commissioner. And then at the end of that, if there are secondary questions that someone might want to ask, we'll just continue the conversation. I'm going to begin by just really talking about Cape Cod Gateway Airport. I mean, we're a regional airport that takes care of a lot of southeastern Massachusetts. We are a combination of airlines. We're a combination of jet fuel sales. We're also a landlord because we have lots of rental properties, including parking lots that we take care of, including a shopping mall on Cape Cod, Route 132. And I think you have Austinville, if I remember reading, and so you know a little bit about the community. So we are an integral part of the community. We have a terrific economic impact on the community in terms of revenues that are brought in, businesses that spend money, if you will. So we are truly sort of a gold star asset in the sense also that we're an enterprise account, so we don't cost the taxpayers any money here in the town of Barnstable. And you'll eventually realize that Hyannis, which is located, most people think Hyannis is a separate town. It's not. It's one village of 7 within the community of Barnstable. So with that being said, we're going to take the next 30 minutes and ask a number of different questions. That's sort of the overview. And I'm just going to quickly ask one, and then I'll turn it over to Commissioner Gio as the second person to ask a question. I'm going to be very basic. Why do you want this job?
Well, one of the things I've always looked at working at my current job at Fort Lauderdale, which is it's a large hub airport. I always like the aspect of the community involvement, and with all the projects we have here going at a large hub airport, sometimes we do miss the ball that we try to have that community feel of the airport, but the way the airport is run is very business-like. But I do like the human touch of working with the community on projects and making sure that the community is well informed. When I saw this job posting, of course, I did my research. I spent many summers in Osterville because I do have a family that does live in the Cape Cod area. And you look at the airport, but you also look at the community as a whole. And I have a beautiful wife. I have a 6-year-old son. And one of the things that is alluring to the Cape Cod area that it's a very tight knit community. Everybody's there, helps each other out, and I know it's a great place to raise a family. And if I make a decision to make a move, it won't be an easy move to do because I have a great thing here at Fort Lauderdale. But I think for my next career to r- help running an airport that is heavily involved in the community aspect, I think lines with my career aspirations that I work for the airport, but also work for the flying public and work for the community. And I think it'd be a great place to raise a family. So that's one of the main reasons why.
Thank you, Sean. Let me ask Vice Chair Gio to continue the questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean, we've all had an opportunity to review your submission. Can you please briefly tell us why you think your background prepares you to be our next airport manager?
So, in my current role at Fort Lauderdale International Airport, I wear many hats. So, anywhere from uh, running the day-to-day operations of the airport to security operations to construction projects and to community outreach. So I'm very versed in all aspects of an airport. Uh, and I think what you guys are looking for, you're looking for somebody to take what your guys are doing and just continue the great work that you guys are doing. And I think my background aligns with the goals and the expectations of this position.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Weil.
Thank you for joining us today and for your effort here. My best friend from high school lives in Hollywood. He may be your most annoying passenger because he frequents that airport all the time. So um, you'll be new to our community. What strategy to gain the trust and respect of airport staff and community leaders would you be involved with? And give us an example of how you would do that in the past. We have a very, very tight-knit group of people who work at the airport, and their interest in management is very important to them, and our interest in how you fit into that organization is very important. And same thing with the community, and especially interacting with our government officials.
So very simply, trust is earned, not given. So again, if you guys give me this great opportunity, I'll be new to the community. I'll be the new person on the block. So how I would do this is I would learn from the airport staff there. So I would sit down, talk with them, see what their wants and needs are, see what the good, the bad, the ugly of what's going on in the airport. And I would get heavily in deep conversation with the airport staff to get the lay of the land. At the same token, I will reach out to, again, all of you guys as commissioners and sit down with you guys and get to know the community, but get to know what are your expectations, what are your visions for the airport moving forward. And that's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take time. And it's not going to be, I'm going to come in there within the first week, know all the ins and outs of the airport. That's not going to happen. It's going to take time. And I'll make sure I put in the hours required to get up to speed as quickly as possible. But I will also make sure that my staff lets them know that I have their backing, that I'm here to learn, I'm here to work with them and for them, for the overall community. And then I will reach you guys like at town hall meetings, get out, meet the public, see what their vested interest in the airport is, and just basically learning from the community, learning from the commercials, and learning from the airport staff. And that's going to take time. One example of how we did that before was we have noise abatement procedures for our south runway. And when we rehabilitated the north runway, what we did is we actually had like town hall meetings. We actually met with the community to explain to them and answer the questions about the impact their work experience over the next 6 months for the runway rehab. They were very, some people understood, some people were unhappy, but what they took out of that at the town hall meetings we had with the community is we were very honest and we told them exactly what the impact were going to be. So some people were okay with it, some people were upset, but I was very honest of what the impacts were, that the south runway was going to be a 24/7 operation and that you guys will have increased traffic during nighttime operations. So one of the things I always lead by is with integrity, and to the best of my ability, always tell the truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Commissioner DeGeorge?
Yeah, good morning, Sean. I'm sure you did enough research on us before you applied. So, based on your knowledge of our airport, what would be your top three priorities for this position, and what value-added contribution would you make within the first 90 days of joining the airport?
All right, so my number one priority, because I was watching that you guys are looking to expand some of the runways, and I believe add another EMAS. So that's one of the biggest thing is like kind of like the infrastructure to making sure that if you have increased capacity, landing capacity, that means you can handle more air traffic. Handle more air traffic, that means more tourism. That means you'll bring in possibly more money to the local economy. So I'll make sure that to see where you guys stand with the actual expansion of the airport. The second priority is to making sure whatever we do that we have a great community outreach, and meaning that I would like to see like more interactions with the airport and the community. So like you can have like an air day or like a wings and wheels out that you have community input at the airport, and you just make community involvement. And the third is to making sure the needs and wants of the staff are met. So making sure they know what the expectations are and making sure we set our employees up for success. Um, the first 90 days really is going to be a learning curve for me. So the first 90 days I will spend is meeting with all the staff, meeting with all the community leaders, and getting a understanding of what the involvement they have with the airport. Then after that, I'll work with the commissioner, the commission, and the community to set up goals for the airport. And one of them could be expansion. But until I meet with you guys, I can't give you a definitive answer of what those expectations will be. But I will ensure that everybody will ensure what my vision for the airport as a whole and with the community, to making sure everybody's lock and key and everybody's on the same page.
Very good. Thank you, Sean.
Commissioner Bailey?
Good morning again. Can you tell us about your crisis management experience?
So, unfortunately, I've been at Fort Lauderdale. I've been through an active shooter at the airport. Been through multiple crashes, tornadoes, hurricanes, massive floods at the airport. So I'm very familiarized of what to do uh, in an emergency situation at the airport. And one of the big keys I think to have is to make sure that everybody is well trained and making sure that you have clear expectations of what is expected during an emergency situation, because you can have an airport emergency plan, but it never goes to plan. So you have to make sure that you're able to think on the fly and to keep the situation moving forward. In hindsight, I would ensure that the local law enforcement, local fire department, uh, we all have open communications, that we have drills, review plans, tabletops, making sure that we have a good network, that we can trust each other, but that when it comes down to it, that we really know to expect the unexpected. So I don't know if any of those situations you want me to expand upon, but unfortunately I've been through a lot in a short time at Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bailiff. You muted.
You're muted.
You muted, Wendy. Wendy,
Sorry, I didn't understand my name to be called, so I apologize. Okay, could you describe your experience in developing and managing capital and operating budgets that align with your organization's vision and objectives?
Okay, so my career has mostly been on airside operation. So one of the capital things. We're good. Oh, sorry. So one of the capital things that I've worked on was actually procuring money for fire trucks for the airport. So I work very closely with our finance people to making sure that the requirements for the regulation are met through the fire rescue, and we had to do a bid process for that. I developed the scope of work for the bid. We Since we're like an enterprise, we had to put it out. Have three companies bid on it. We selected the company that met the requirements by the regulation and by the airport. And through my efforts, where I was able to procure two fire trucks in essence, that the cost was about $2 million. So how's that align with the goal of the airport? In my position, the goal of the airport is to maintain regulatory compliance. So that's really one of my experiences. And then when it came to the runway, I was one of the project managers for the rehab runway of the North Runway, and worked with the engineering manager to help procure FAA funds, and also make sure we had it properly budgeted for the capital part of the runway project. So make sure that we had money for the design, for the pavement, for lighting, and the painting of the runway.
all set, Wendy? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Melo?
I'm good. I've been listening along and making notes, so everybody's asked the questions that I was interested in, so
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, with that being said, Sean, I'm just curious, you spoke to noise mitigation relative to working with those folks who live close to an airport. We also have a PFAS issue due to a fire training academy that was located contiguous to airport property. And so we have some plumes of PFAS that have been floating and moving through, if you will, our territory. And towards that end, what types of experience have you had mitigating PFAS-related issues, which is not only common to Barnstable Airport, but airports across the country?
All right, so our biggest thing with the PFAS is in the right now is the AFFF. So with our fire rescue, and also with the PFAS mitigation. So when we because we had some old terminals that were torn down. So in the drywall, there was PFAS in the drywall. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
Yes.
Like for construction, not the fire rescue?
I'm talking about just when you discover that there is a PFAS problem at
Okay.
Hollywood Fort Lauderdale Airport. What involvement, what leadership, what mitigation process did you take on to
Okay.
help get that
So,
under control?
all right. So when it came, my direct experience is with the fire rescue. Okay. So I'm not going to lie and say like, oh, I was part of the. We did have a PFAS issue with when we tore down Concourse H, which we built Terminal G, but that was a separate entity at the airport. So my direct is with the PFAS, with the aqueous foam for the fire department, and we are in the process right now to switch over to the non PFAS foam right now, and we're looking to do that in probably the next 6 months. One of the challenges we have was, what do you do with the PFAS or the AFFF? And it's a very expensive cost to the airport that we have to do. So that's one of the things that we had to budget, because to clean one of our fire trucks is about $40,000 per truck. So I had to put in the budget. So, and with the PFAS, we had to get reach out to Cliff Berry, who's one of our environmental cleanup agencies, and they are going to properly dispose of all the AFFF that we have at the airport. So there was a study years back about the PFAS, the cancer causing. So basically nationwide, we are going to the PFAS free foam. It's just going to take time because we have to make sure that the firefighters are retrained. So I'm working with the fire department to make sure that they or the retraining is properly done, because with the new foam it's going to be actually a higher percentage of foam that they're going to have to do compared to the AFFF. So we're writing the mitigation of that, and we're very conscientious to making sure that we do this properly. We don't want any runoff into the local water system. When we do this, or since we're doing this, we also make sure our local environmental agencies are notified of everything we're doing and covering all the Florida regulations when it comes to the waterways and the proper disposal of the AFFF. So that's pretty much my experience with the PFAS.
I'm just curious where the airport is located. It's contiguous to many of the canals,
Yeah.
Along Dania Beach and along. Have you had problems with PFAS going into those bodies of water? And if so, have you been involved in the plans to mitigate it?
So we have not directly had issues with the PFAS going to local canals, but what we do have on sites is we have booms, and we call them plugs, but with the like the stormwater drains around there, if we have a fire that we have to use the foam, that we have the capability of blocking the drains so the water does not get out into the waterway system. So we have methods, strategies in place, and plans in place to, if in case like we do have another fire that we do have to use the AFFF foam, that we have the means and methods to properly clean it up, but also prevent it from going into the local water system.
Okay. Good, thank you. Commissioners, anyone else have a follow-up question that they would like to ask? We have a few minutes before we reach 10 o'clock.
Yes, I do.
Commissioner Weil?
Yes, based on your experience with 139 operations and air service development, and you have a lot of experience at a big airport, what are the biggest challenges for an airport that you see for an airport our size?
So, to me, the biggest impact, or the biggest, I'll say, not challenge, but is you have to be very stringent about budget, because Fort Lauderdale has a huge operation budget. My budget alone, just for airside, is about $23 million, and that's also to cover the needs of the airside, but also the fire department, because my budget covers the cost of the fire department at the airport. So I would just have to make sure that with the budget, that I'm very fiscally responsible with the airport budget. And one of the things is I hate to waste money. So that's why, if we have to buy something, procure something, I want to make sure that we do our due diligence, do the research to make sure that every dollar we spent goes to the proper need and not just waste money.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weil. Anyone else? Then just one final quick question. Managing the airport in Broward County, you basically work with two communities, the city of Hollywood and the city of Fort Lauderdale. What's the relationship of the airport to the town relative to management procedures?
So one of the things with the local community is we do public outreach, and with all the with Hollywood, Daniel, Fort Lauderdale, and we make sure that they have input of what we do. And right now, the airport is pretty much a construction hotbed right now because we have construction all of the airfield, and that there's impacts, flight operations, noise. So I make a conscious effort to making sure that whenever we have construction, that we send out notices to the public that they know exactly what is going on, and we also reach out to them that we give them the local community tours of the airport so they can see what exactly is going on at the airport. So I hope I know if that kind of answers your question, but we just making sure that the community is part of the process of what we do here at Fort Lauderdale International Airport.
Yeah, I was just curious whether you get tax dollars from either community or are you an enterprise account where
I'm sorry.
everything-
We're enterprise. We don't same thing. We don't take any tax money.
Okay, so you're familiar with that. Okay, great. Okay, we're coming to closure time-wise, so I would be remiss if I didn't give you the final opportunity to give us some closing remarks.
All right. So I just want to say thank you guys for taking. I know you guys are all busy, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to at least give me an opportunity to interview with you guys. So one of the things is if I do get the opportunity to go up there, where would be the best place to get a lobster roll?
Well, it's funny. You look at most restaurants and there'll always be a sign voted #1 best lobster roll on Cape Cod, and then you go to the next one and they all say the same. It's the same thing with clam chowder. So you basically have to do your own due diligence.
Okay, because
I would add to that, Sean, though, and you probably know this from spending your summers up in Osterville. You can go into the crappiest hole in the wall up here and get great seafood. It's just pervasive throughout the area.
So, and again, I don't want to say I'm a snob for seafood, but I'm a snob for seafood because I grew up in the Florida Keys. I spent a lot, like many summers up in Cape Cod, and you go to restaurants down here and they're like, oh, this is mahi, this is dolphin, or like, oh, this is clam chowder, and you look at it, there's no clams in it, and that's one thing that like the food up there is just fantastic, and
yeah.
There's no comparison. I'm sorry, to a Maine lobster compared to a Florida lobster.
Yep.
There's no. I'm sorry. There's no comparison. So
Yeah, that's just a big crayfish down south.
yeah.
Anyway, any other comments from any commissioner before we bring this
Suzanne
to
has
closure?
something.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Uh,
I just wanted to
Suzanne.
give you the opportunity. Do you have any questions for the commission?
Yes. So I just want to see, what are your expectations for this job?
Excuse me for coughing. I'm under a little bit of a cold. We're moving quickly on this position. We will be making a determination sooner than later. And then once we make that choice, whomever we select, we'll be in touch with that person. And then depending on the person accepts or rejects, then we'll move towards contract negotiations, which everything is subject to negotiations.
Okay. All right. I know everybody's stressed for time, so that's all I have for you guys. But again, thank you guys. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to everybody today.
John, thank you so much. We appreciate the time you gave us also.
All
Bye-bye
right.
now.
Thank you very much.
Sean.
Thank you.
Before we go to our next candidate, anybody have a question or issue?
Yeah,
Commissioner Gill?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure I have the most recent set of questions. I have the questions that were sent out yesterday morning. And there's a question that I've heard now a couple of times on crisis management that I don't see on
Excuse
this
me.
list.
Could I just ask Sean, we are all set. If you wanted to leave the meeting now, that would be great. Thank you.
Are you still on?
Yes.
It is a public meeting, so we can't really deny anybody.
Hold on.
I don't see him.
Nope, I just removed him. Okay.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think the ones I have is the ones that Sia sent to us, and I think they're the most accurate. I know some people are ad-libbing, and I have been doing the same. So this was a recommended suggestion so that we all ask basically the same question so that we can
Yeah,
have a
I,
fair
I,
analysis of each candidate.
I understand that. I'm just wondering where the crisis management question is coming from because I don't have it on the list. And if you have it on your list, could you send me that list,
You
please?
also were given the opportunity, each of us, to ask one of our own questions, and I'm assuming that's
Right.
what that is.
I think that's what it is.
Yes.
I don't have it on my, it's not on my list
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
It's an additional question that was asked.
Right.
Oh, okay. Then we have to make sure that we're asking that question.
Yeah,
with everybody.
everybody has been asked the same question.
Okay.
And that list of questions has been asked by everybody, including the crisis management one.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, our next candidate is Clint Gaelic. If you would bring him on board, Suzanne.
Certainly.
Morning,
Hello.
Clint. Thank
Morning.
you for your patience. Appreciate it. Good morning. Sia Schatz with 80K. Welcome to the interview for the Cape Cod Gateway Airport, Hyannis. And we will begin with introductions, and I'll bring this to John.
Okay. Good morning, Clint. Thank you for taking the time for today's interview. My name is John Flores, and I am the chairperson of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission, retired as a school superintendent and a university dean. Commissioner Gio.
Hi, Clint. I'm Mark Gio. I'm the vice chair of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission. Welcome to the interview process, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Commissioner Weil.
Good morning. My name is Norm Weil. I've been a commissioner for about 7 years. I'm chairman of the finance subcommittee. My background is primarily banking and finance, but I've been a 50-year user of the airport.
Commissioner DeGeorge.
Good morning, Clint. My name is Joe DeGeorge. I am chairperson of the Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee and have been a commissioner for 4 years.
Commissioner Bearworth.
Hi, I'm Wendy Beerworth. I've been a commissioner for about 7 years. I serve on the Infrastructure Committee, and my primary background is in corporate aviation.
And Commissioner Melo.
Hi, my name is Margaret Malo, and I'm a current and former airport commissioner. Welcome to the process.
Okay. And Christine Greeley.
I'm Christine Greeley. I am the Yarmouth representative to the Airport Commission. I've been a resident of Yarmouth for over 44 years.
Thank you, Chris. Chris is not a commissioner, but she serves at the recommendation of the town of Yarmouth, which is contiguous to the town of Barnstable. And you probably know that, having been in Bridgewater for many years. So that being said, Clint, first and foremost, welcome to the interview process this morning. As I already mentioned, as chairperson, we want to make sure that we hire, I'm sorry, Joe?
Yeah, I think you missed Mr. Bailey.
Oh, Jeepers,
That's
my
okay.
apologies.
And
I
Sue.
apologize, Brett.
And Sue.
And
No
Sue,
apology
okay, I'm
necessary.
rushing the process. Go ahead. No, Brett, please. My apologies.
No apology necessary. My name's Brad Bailey. I'm an attorney in Hyannis, Massachusetts. I've served off the commission for 5 years. I'm on the finance subcommittee.
Great. And Suzanne.
Hi, good morning, Clint. My name is Suzanne Kennedy, and I'm in the position of executive assistant to the airport manager, and I've been with the airport almost 33 years.
Thank you, Suzanne. And again, my apologies for overlooking two very, very important critical members of our airport commission as well as employee. As I started to say, Clint, Cape Cod Gateway Airport is a regional airport serving most of southeastern Massachusetts and Cape Cod. you probably know who we are and what we're about, but as we begin this process today to interview, I really want to just, begin with a basic kind of question. Why is it that you really want this position as manager of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport?
So what really drew me to this role was initially the location, because I'm very familiar with the Cape Cod area, having spent summers in Sandwich, Mashpee, going fishing off of the Bourne Bridge with my father, uh, going for stripers and such, going camping there. But more so once I learned more about the position, I found it as a natural a step, a progression in my career within aviation, having done a multitude of aviation jobs stretching from Boston Airport with their airport ops department to even now here at Newark Airport, all of which I was duty supervisor, being the spearhead of Part 139 at Teterboro, and transitioning over to terminal operations over here at Newark, handling multiple carriers at once, handling their issues and being the overall filter to my own manager, and the issues that arise, whether you're the airlines or TSA or even CBP or even a local law enforcement that handles the passenger flow of our seasonal traffic, such as now with the summer and such. But yeah, I saw the airport manager position and I thought it would be a great opportunity to not only come back to Massachusetts, but also expose myself to higher responsibilities that I've looked for in my progression in aviation.
Thank you, Clint. Commissioner Keel.
Morning, Clint.
Come on.
We've all had an opportunity to review your submission. Can you please briefly tell us why your background prepares you to be our next airport manager?
So having done some cursory research and reviewing all the info that you guys sent me on the airport itself, um, my experience thus far, I believe, prepares me for, or at least my exposure to different facets of aviation prepares me to take on this role. Whether I can say uh, private jet aviation at Teterboro, handling a lot of GA traffic as well as private jet travel at Teterboro. I handled a lot of FBOs there, and the issues that may arise with handling FBOs in relation to terminal work. I've also done terminal work, handling airline work with passengers involved, speaking to station managers, hashing out problems, whether it's related to the facility itself, trying to sparse out issues, whether it was definitely the Port Authority's problem or the airline's problem, and handling different lease spaces there. Not only including airline lease spaces, but also the contracted lease spaces that we manage over there at the Port Authority. And also doing on top of the FBO exposure and the airline airport operation exposure, I've also handled a lot of airport construction over at Teterboro, handling runway rehab projects, actually coming off of what's recently happened in Newark. I actually spent some time on the runway too, working on some of that airport construction as well. Not really overseeing, but really um, going back to my roots over in construction like I've done so at Teterboro. And with the Part 139 stuff, I've spent multiple years at Teterboro handling all facets of Part 139, whether it's snow removal, was one big part that I've grown a lot from doing snow operations here between New Jersey and Massachusetts. But the construction side of it, speaking with the FAA, handling a multitude of airport emergency situations, whether it is a disabled aircraft, crowd control, protests. I've handled those situations as they arose at Teterboro. And I believe my overall experience has exposed me to scenarios where I'm pretty confident in my ability to respond to certain situations, and more so being able to let the parties involved and the stakeholders know about the current situation and how it may or may not affect them.
Thank you, Clint.
Thank you, Clint.
Commissioner Weil? You're on mute. While Norm figures out his mute situation, why don't we go to Commissioner DeGeorge and then we'll come back to Commissioner Weil.
Good morning,
Norm, you're
Clint.
still on mute. Commissioner DeGeorge.
Okay, good morning, Clint. Based on your knowledge of our airport, and I'm sure you've done some research, what would be your top priorities, top three priorities for this position, and what value-added contributions will you make in the first 90 days?
The first thing that I've read that I sort of drew myself towards was your MVP, your mission, your projection for the future, and your guidance towards the what you plan for the airport, as well as a bit of your construction and capital projects that I saw. But the first of which I saw was the improvement of airside options for flexibility for the airline side in terms of the hard stands. I would look into that, see if there's room for improvement with hard stands, especially with the A320 and A220s. And I believe you also have a third hard stand for the E190. I would actually review potential spaces for more hard stands because I think that adds to more flexibility in terms of any congested ramp space. I also saw I would also prioritize and make a timeline for any runway projects or anything the FAA may want, because I know they had a updated taxiway project across the United States in terms of re-updating certain throats entering the runway. So I would review some construction plans for that and see if we can cover our bases with future-proofing the airside part of it. And the third of which I would try to future-proof, like, no, I saw that in the capital project planning, the being able to handle the seasonal traffic and the congestion of post-security spaces, and being able to see where we can improve there. Because I myself, being a terminal supervisor over here in Newark, I'm in a position where I see it firsthand and understand it firsthand, especially with specific satellites that handle wide body gates and the congestion that arises from having all those gates occupied and not having enough seats or converging queues at the airlines and having to deal with those problems, whether they have converging queuings for their different zones, not having enough stanchions, the signs not being updated, because over there at Terminal B, it's an older facility and we have to do bandage work or try to make creative solutions to try to remedy some of the issues that happen, especially when that space is not made for that type of amount of people. And especially now with the summer, you add the heat involved and you try to be creative with those solutions. But yes, I would try definitely at the third part, just to emphasize, I would try to improve the passenger feel, especially for the post-security areas, because when it especially in the summer, you may have a cancellation. You want to make sure those people are comfortable and able to wait for anything that the airline may provide them in the case of an irregular operation.
Thank you,
Okay.
Clint. Norm, I see you back with some audio, so we'll bounce back to you.
Yeah, sorry, I muted because I have two barking dogs in the background, and and this got locked up, so I had to get out and back. I believe we're on to. I could hear everything pretty much until I logged out, but so moving on. Based on your knowledge of our airport, what would be your top three priorities for this position? What value-added contributions, with that in mind, would you make in your first 90 days at Gateway Airport?
Norm, No, I just went through
Oh,
that with Clint.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was
I
just
didn't
gonna
hear
bring
the
that up.
question. I heard the answer. All right,
Norm, yes,
describe
was it?
your experience in
No, you need,
developing
no,
and managing.
Norm,
Hold on,
number
hold on.
three,
Norm,
question
yes,
three.
question number three. You're new to our community?
Oh, okay. You knew, I thought that was the one that got asked. So,
No, no,
you're new to our community. What is your strategy to gain the trust and respect of our airport staff and community leaders? Give an example of how you would achieve this how you've achieved that in the past. We have a small staff that is very close knit and very engaged with management, and we have a close relationship with leaders in the community, and especially we have a lot of interaction with our town council. So it's important we understand how you would interact with both of those groups.
Understood. Uh, when it comes to airport staff, my main leadership style is definitely lead by example. Especially for a smaller staff, my first goal is to earn the respect, and that's the way I achieve that is by learning what they do every day and learning the how they fit into the puzzle of the operation and really understanding um, how much they contribute to the team and more so just learning about the what like really drives them to do this position because airport operations, especially for a smaller team, we definitely rely on each other to get the airport running. And I've been exposed to that at Teterboro where I'm usually it's only me and two other people running the airport at a time. So building that bond with the smaller team is very important, especially to earn the respect coming in as the airport manager, and really showing them that I don't mind being there every day. Because I'm not just there for the good times, there for the bad times too, with how irregular operations work in aviation. And when it comes to the local community, I will try to my best to really emphasize that I work for them and I serve them as an airport manager and in their best interest in mind in terms of what the airport provides to them. And I haven't really had the opportunity to really to build the community relations with with people that may find an interest at the airport. But the equivalent type of exposure I've had to that is definitely with what my customer service side aspect of working at Newark. Because sometimes it's like, especially during my shift, uh, I just like standing in the middle of the terminal, provide wayfinding, showing people what our options are for transportation, showing them the way around because I want to be exposed to where the passengers, where they're thinking, when they land here, where they're trying to go. I'm really hands-on with my approach with uh with teaching people about the airport and such.
Thank you, Guy. My experience in Newark is it is a very overwhelming place for somebody that gets off an airplane, especially from a foreign country or the middle of our country that has never been in that area. So that's a challenge. And Teterboro, I think, has a lot of similarities to Cape Cod Gateway Airport. So thank you for your response. Sorry, I confused things. I got a little technology challenged.
No worries.
thank you, Norm. Okay, moving along, Commissioner Bailey.
Yes, good morning again. Can you tell us about your crisis management experience?
Uh, the in terms of incident response and developing being the incident commander for a crisis. And the last example I can think of or two examples really I can think of a crisis was the handling disabled aircrafts and potentially closing the airport for a time being. It was I believe a Hawker landing on our a 119, and it landed just short of the intersection or just past the intersection of our two intersecting runways. And I had to make the call to whether I had to close the airport. Ultimately, I did for safety reasons, but what ended up happening is as soon as that plane landed, made sure all the EMS and the necessary parties were to respond to the scene. I did a runway inspection of the other runway, and then I reopened the airport, maybe gap about maybe 5-10 minutes so we can keep the airport running. And being able to really use your crew, having them on standby for anything that you need for escorts and such. Um, that was one situation handled for crisis management in terms of the airport operation side within the AOA. Another crisis management thing that I did was there was a green protest at Teterboro on the southern gate, and they're restricting access to one of our FBOs actually. And over there, since it's it's all along the fence line of the airport, but at the gate, really notifying the airport tenants about their options of like of how they're gonna get catering trucks in, how they're gonna schedule their Uber for their VIP, getting the police involved, getting maintenance involved for cleanup afterwards. Um, but yes, definitely the biggest part of it is notifying the stakeholders of the situation and updating them as frequently as you can so any of their operations or any of their expectations doesn't get disrupted because of an incident like this. Sending any e-alerts if the airport has those ever bridges, just being able to notify and send the proper notifications to people so they don't get blindsided by the time they come to work or they come to fly. You want to make sure that everybody that needs to know has to know or already knows.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bearworth?
Yeah, Sia and Clint, before I ask my question, I'm hoping that you can clarify something. From your executive summary, it appears that you are applying for the assistant airport manager position. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Initially I was looking into the airport manager role. But at some point I was told that the assistant I was asked if I was interested into the assistant airport manager position as well. I still expressed that I am interested in that role as well. So I am interested in both. If that is an option, I am interested in both.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Well, my question is, if you could please describe your experience in developing and managing capital and operating budgets that align with your organization's vision and objectives.
Mhm. I have I have no experience with that, with developing capital budgets and really um, future proofing and doing financial planning for the future of the airport. The closest thing I've done close to that is really uh, putting input to my manager about where we can do cuts in terms of Port Authority wide budget cuts that we're trying to do to fund capital projects. Um, because the Port Authority as a whole, in order to fund the future projects, whether it's updating the terminals, updating bridges and tunnels, and so on and so forth, there was a company-wide budget cut, and I was asked a few times where we could potentially cut to enable those projects to occur or even happen in the future. But in terms of planning, capital budget planning, unfortunately I don't have that much exposure to that.
Thank you, Clint. Commissioner Melo?
Same as before. I'm satisfied with what we have so far.
Okay. Just quick question, Clint, relative to issues of concern, really in every airport across the nation, i.e., PFAS related issues, sound, noise complaints related issues, mitigation, um, uh, systems that you might have been involved with. Could you just share with us any of your experiences in those three topics?
Mhm.
PFAS, sound, and mitigation?
PFAS. Just to clarify, when you mean PFAS, do you mean like those forever chemicals that exist within?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean,
Um,
it's been for many, many years before it was discovered in the chemical that was used by fire departments on airports, as you probably know.
mhm.
We also have a little bit of an issue relative to a fire and police training center contiguous to our airport, where we have some plumes of PFAS, and we're working with different environmental groups to mitigate that. So, like, that's really the gist of my question.
Mhm. So when I think of PFAS, I think of any hazardous materials that has to get managed. I believe I believe under Part 139, 321, Part 13, Section 321, there is a section that handles hazardous materials. And in this case, one way that I would try to mitigate any, at least airport responsible PFAS, whether it's especially like fuel spills and such, trying to get into any soils and such. I would definitely try to make like spill kits of some sort to try to mitigate that. Um, Frequent water testing for sure is a must. You want to try to make sure the local water isn't contaminated at higher levels, and if you are, you gotta do certain measures to try to control that and make sure the airport isn't directly involved with spreading or creating more PFAS into the local environment. Uh, in terms of noise, especially at Teterboro, since it's nestled right into the community, we've had to handle. We had a noise department, and one of our jobs, airport wide or company wide, was really making sure our noise tracking monitors around the airport were working and were still available to use because they were strategically located within the community to keep track of noise and any spikes of noise and really give credence to the community about any noise complaints because yes, airports are very noisy, and we do try our best to help mitigate that with I believe tracking noise stages with especially with that billing and tracking that at Teterboro they track every landing and departing aircraft, and we do keep track of that. You use that information to keep track of any noise disputes that one particular aircraft or pilot may have a pattern of doing, especially at Teterboro. And what was the third one, sir?
That was it.
What was the third criteria we were looking
No,
for?
no, it was how you mitigated it, how you took control of a PFAS issue, how you took control of a sound related issue and then mitigated it. What plans, what procedures, what process
Mhm.
have you had experience with?
In terms of the direct mitigation, do not have experience with that directly. What I have been experienced with is really the front end receiving portion of the noise complaint and really directing that to our noise department, and they therefore will go to us and we will meet the aircraft and explain to them our noise abatement procedure because over at Teterboro, I believe there's signages at certain key parts or takeoff departure points that notify pilots of the noise restrictions we have for certain periods of the night. So in this case, yeah, I would if it when it comes to noise, I would try to mitigate traffic. If potential with tower, try to mitigate uh, airport traffic to maybe potentially follow a route that doesn't pass around the perimeter of the airport, or maybe have signage to make them aware of the the night restriction, the partial restrictions we have on noise for certain areas. In terms of PFAS, the only thing I can think of with PFAS would just be how I've dealt with fuel spills at the airport. maybe providing spill kits or PFAS or reporting areas that they can notify us and we can keep track of.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Commissioners, anyone else have a final question before we bring this to closure? Commissioner Weil?
This may be the most important question, given the fact that you're in New Jersey and both with Teterboro and Newark. Are you going to be able to make a transition to being a New England Patriots fan?
Oh my goodness, man. Of course. You know, I see you. I've been used to living because I'm from Quincy. I moved to Massachusetts in 2001, so I've used to the Patriots winning ever since I came there. And now we're in this position where I'm looking for some guidance, man. Like I'm still a Pats fan. It's never gone away from me. I'm still loud and proud about it. And you know, some guys at work make fun of me, but it's I'm too strong and I can't give up on
Well,
that.
Clint, with that being said, it looks like it's going to be a better fall for us in the New England region with the
We've got Mark as a question.
I know, I see that with the new coach and the new team. And final
Yes.
question, Commissioner Gio?
Well, I wonder now if we do bring Clint in, will that bring us back to where it was when he left? So, you know,
Oh.
I encourage all the commissioners to heavily consider that. Clint, I have one more question for you. It's based on your experience with Part 139 operations and air service development. What are the biggest challenges for an airport of our size, do you think?
Definitely the space. Space of passengers within the sterile area. Really managing that area and making sure that everyone's comfortable there, but also gate space. Um, because from what I have seen with we had Volaris start. Actually, we have a low cost Mexican airline starting on the 2nd. We have a Dominican airline that just started, and the main issues that I've noticed with new carriers entering unknown field that they're not really familiar with is really gate space usage, ticket counter usage, signage for their passengers if they speak another language, being able to really bring forth ways for people that don't speak English to be able to wayfind in and out of the airport, especially for Spanish speakers like that. And yeah, just providing those transportation points because yes, they can come off the airport and they can find their place to their Uber Lyft, but definitely the congestion part of when they get to that lift and getting to their vacation spot is really, really important because I'm trying to think of it from the point of a passenger. And if they're looking to go there for vacation, they want to try, we want, as an airport, we want to try to make sure that the transition from the airplane to that Uber to their hotel is more or less seamless and easy for them.
Thank you.
Okay, closing comments. Clint, anything else you would like to add to this interview before we bring it to closure?
No, it's been a great, I'm very happy that you guys gave me the time to interview and I'm excited. Thank you.
Okay, all right, Clint. Thank you for giving us the time, and we will. Suzanne, you have a
Sue.
question?
Just one more question. I just wanted to ask Clint and give him the opportunity if he had any questions for the commission.
No questions.
Right. Okay, then we'll bring this to closure. Clint, good luck, and we'll be in touch one way or the other. And this is moving fairly rapidly as we come to a decision on who our next airport manager will be. So with that being said, Suzanne, we can let Clint go and bring in our next candidate.
You, Clint.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike. Go.
Getting
Waiting for
there.
his video.
I thank you for your patience.
Oh, no worries. It's all about you guys in the airport, not me.
We're just going to move forward. John, I don't even.
No, I mean,
into
we can
the
just pick up,
process.
we can just pick up with some one-on-one questions. We don't need to go around the table and reintroduce ourselves. We all know each other quite well. Obviously, Mike, you've been in the position for a few months now, so you know the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know some of the things that you've been um, dealt unexpectedly, as well as initiatives that you needed to take on relative to construction-related issues, PFAS-related issues, as well as budgets and contracts. So, with all of that being said, I guess my role in this interview process will be to introduce the panel, which is not necessary. So, I guess I just want to drill right down to if, in fact, A, if you were offered this position, would you accept it? And B, if that were the case, I mean, why is it that you really want this job?
Okay, interesting start. I would definitely accept it after much debate over the last few weeks and discussions with people I trust highly. And as far as wanting the job, when I was asked to help out with the airport, I didn't know that my air traffic background, how it would translate, and if it would translate into airport management. And I accepted the role because I had been on the airport for a couple of years and really enjoyed the airport and was sorry to leave it. Great people, great airport. And when I was offered this opportunity, I came back not only to test my own abilities and challenge myself, but to come back and work with the individuals I hadn't worked closely with. After working closely with this just awesome staff, awesome people, awesome customers, tenants. There's exceptions to every rule, but overall, it is just awesome. And to continue in the role would be a privilege to serve the airport and the community and its needs and be able to continue to learn. I have learned so much, and I pride myself on continuous improvement and learning. And really, in a nutshell, it's to serve and meet the challenges that the airport offers for improvement, growth, fiduciary responsibilities. See the challenge of trying to grow what you guys have done over the last 7, 8 years. It's amazing. I just want to be a part of that.
Thank you, Mike. With that being said, we're going to go around. Each commissioner has a specific question, and we're fast each candidate the same or similar question, if you will. So I'm going to go right to Vice Chair Gio to ask the next question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, we've all had an opportunity to review your submission. Please briefly tell us why your background prepares you to be our next airport manager.
On the surface, I didn't think it did. I look at the application, I look at the job descriptions of this airport manager role and the roles of other airport managers, and dealing in my 30 plus years with the different airport managers I have had the privilege of interacting with, it was off the map. But what I've come to learn is the skills are transferable, because I'm not out there providing runway inspections. I'm not out there doing all the airfield maintenance and performing the tasks that this tremendous staff does. My role is to take the aviation experience I have, whether it be management, leadership, labor relations, and help the airport come together and to be the highest functioning, optimizing its abilities and capabilities to the best of my ability. And I feel that that's what I did in my aviation career. So I'm not a ops person, ARF person, maintenance person. I'm the leader of the facility. And with my experience, I think it is very well suited to be the airport manager of Cape Cod Gateway Airport.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Commissioner Weil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, thank you for your time. Thank you for your past efforts on our behalf. You're sort of new, in some ways, it's the question is you're new to our community, but in many ways you're not. But what is the strategy to gain the trust and respect of the airport staff and community leaders? You know that it's a small staff and how important it is to be able to relate to them, and you've become familiar with our community in ways that you may never expected. What's your strategy for dealing with them also?
Thank you, Norm, and you're welcome. The strategy is with the staff and the people I've worked with so far is to continue on building on the relationships that I've been so fortunate to develop and I feel I'm fostering now. The level of trust that I've been able to gain from the workforce has been amazing, but not unexpected with my past achievements in aviation and life. An example of this is just we had some asphalt degradation the other day because of the high temperatures. And we got together and figured out a strategy to try to mitigate any degradation in the 100-degree weather. And so we watered the surfaces down, and that's all I thought it was this one initiative. And yesterday, as I was doing a apron inspection middle afternoon, Ed Longo, the union representative, who I have a very good relationship with, came over to me and was extremely excited because he's been monitoring the air temperature, surface temperatures, and we talked about, okay, what's going to be the trigger for enacting that initiative again, the water initiative, to cool down the surfaces while we're looking for a long-term strategy. And we talked, and that's the beauty of it. That's where the trust of that relationship is he's taken the initiative on his own to go out there and not only help the airport, but help me with this very important data and his continuous observations in ensuring the safety and security of this airport. And that's not the exception. I believe that is the rule of the relationships I've built. As far as the community, I've been involved in 2 meetings a week with the staff, all the department heads of the town, and I feel that I've definitely gained their trust and have worked with a handful of them on different projects and aspects. Mr. Ells, the town manager, graciously accepted the American inauguration invite for the media event last week, based, I believe, in part, not only just the notoriety of the event, but the relationship we've already established in a very short time. I've been to 2 or 3 town council meetings. I've actually spoke a little bit at one, and was very well received by the councilors. So between my interactions with people at town hall, the different departments, and the staff, I believe I'm already forging that. And now the real hard work is ahead for me because now I have to maintain and grow those relationships and that trust.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Commissioner DeGeorge.
Good morning, Mike. You're going to like this question. Based on your knowledge of our airport, which you now have a total of 90 days worth, what would be your top 3 priorities for this position? And what added value contributions will you make on your next 90 days?
Good morning. Good morning, Joe.
Good
That's a
morning.
tough question. Because I feel like I've been so wrapped up in the moment, I have not been strategizing nearly as much as I would like to and planning as much. Um, the top priority being the safety and security of this airport. But along with the strategic plan, and it's not even a strategic plan. I had the privilege of serving at Logan Airport for approximately 29 years. And it's a very constrained airport land-wise. It's landlocked. The terminal's landlocked, building locked. The infrastructure does not allow for horizontal growth, but it allows for vertical growth, which they've done. They've optimized as much of the airfield surfaces and the terminal surfaces and the parking surfaces. So what I would like to do, one, is explore how we are going to be able to optimize the airfield, optimize the parking in relation to how the community is going to receive it and work with the community, because this is never going to be a Logan airport. I don't want to see that. That's not right for this community, but it can be more as far as travelers and GA and be a place where people want to come to. So it's exploring that type of thing. Just responsible growth over the next few years. As far as our facilities, making sure we're giving our employees the best facilities and equipment to work with so that they have the resources to not do their job okay, but to do their job great and not have to rely on just physical strength or mental smarts. We want to have the best for what I consider the best out here. And that's going to take investment, wise investment, very acute financial mindset towards that, but balance that with the safety and security of the airport. Because historically, it's a great facility. I love the terminal. I love the tower. We definitely need some infrastructure improvements in the parking lot and the roadways getting to here a bit. But at the end of the day, they're not suited for the growth that we've experienced over the last few years. We're overheating. The air conditioning system cannot keep up with the heat, the amount of people in the restaurant. So looking for ways to cost effectively put in temporary solutions while we're looking for long-term solutions. I have a builder, and I expect a quote soon on something that would mirror just a little bigger than our present TSA secure area expansion, and see what that would cost and work with that builder just on estimates. They're willing to work with me in exploring those possibilities, and they also have contracts at Logan Airport, so they're very familiar with airport construction and things like that. And the last one, it's really more of a fourth, but I just finished up performance appraisals, and we have a high performing workforce, no doubt. But I was very disappointed in that I didn't see mid-years when I was reviewing previous years. So what that tells me is we've been paper hacking the performance to an extent. When I read through the commentary, it's about what's going on in the airport, but it's not involving the person and how the person might be able to strive better. There's a couple of them, but not all of them are telling us how to do that. I have prided myself on coaching, performance management since I was probably 16, 17 years old as a youth coach, and then through my adult life, personally and professionally. And I really want to hit the performance part of it and coach people and help them grow in that respect so that they feel better about what they do, give them more confidence. So the first 90 days is to continue what I've been doing, get more efficient, and be better at the protocols with the town, the commission, and just get us going in the right direction and put all the other stuff that we've dealt with behind us so that we can clear the path in the road to make a even more growth future for us. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioner Bailey.
Mike, thank you for being here and going through this. Can you tell us about your crisis management experience, please?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Brad. The last 90 days. uh, 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 I just had to throw that one out there. So mostly on a professional level, as a supervisor in air traffic operations, we're akin to firefighters. Um, Depending on the facility, time of day, volume of traffic, time of year, especially in New England, we're there as air traffic controllers to be on call for when it gets busy, when it gets stressful, how to handle that stress. And I had a 2 nights in a row, um, Airbus 340 and then a Airbus 330. Summer, heavy traffic, and both of them departed 15 right. It's a long runway. And both of them had mechanical issues that they had to come back. So they needed a long runway to land. And we, at that point, Logan's not like Hyannis. You have to keep traffic flowing. You don't close the runways or the airport until the crisis is over. So what I did in those 2 instances, both nights, all hands on deck. I called everybody back from breaks. I probably had 10 people in the tower, and Chair Commissioner Gio can attest to how small that tower is. It's probably about the size of the tower up here.
It actually is. Same size.
Yeah. And so I had 10 people up there. I had a controller in charge. I manned the public relations end of it. Control in charge was overseeing what the people were doing, as I was also overseeing the emergencies and making sure that the optimum and safety was performed. Every position was open, so everyone could focus on just that one task, to keep it as simple and utilize their training to the utmost to ensure positive outcomes for both. And both times, both nights, we had very positive outcomes. Here on this airport, no different. Whether you're a pilot, whether you're an air traffic controller, or in my position as air traffic manager, I 24/7 carry my checklist of what to do in an emergency, because I don't want to rely on memory. And that's why I have all the controllers do. And I would just go right through that checklist, calling FAA contacts, Mass DOT contacts, some of which I've already have a relationship with, and they've offered to be on the airport as soon as possible. Hyannis Fire, mutual response, whatever it takes, whether it's a physical emergency on the airport or one of the administrative, not crises, because I'll never really attach administration unless it's a real exceptional situation to a crisis. But we focus on what we need to do and get the job done as best as we can, as quietly as we can, and we move on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Commissioner Bailiff?
Yes. Hi, Mike. Great to see you again. Could you please describe your experience in developing and managing capital and operating budgets that align with your organization's vision and objectives?
Good morning, Wendy. Thank you. And as far as those areas go, and my aviation experience, I have very little experience in budgets and capital improvements. So what I've done is, over the last about 4 weeks ago, I had the pleasure to set up a meeting with Julie Seltsam, who runs the capital improvements work for the FAA, and Barry Hammer, who works in their office. And they've offered me as much assistance as possible anytime. And I've had a relationship probably with Julie for solid 15 to 20 years at least. And when I was a district manager for a New England district, which is all of New England and upstate New York facilities, I was able to work with budgets and stuff like that, and work with Julie hand in hand on quite a few issues, and FAA leadership on issues dealing with budgets, but it's a whole different structure. So what I've been doing also outside of those meetings, and also have a meeting planned with Mass DOT for the same issues, so I can understand the grant situations and programs better, and working with them so they can educate me. I think you've seen over the last 90 days plus how quickly I not only learn, but I'm able to apply what I learn in a very good manner. I have access to all of Katie, the previous manager's emails. I go through emails, read that. I actually watch some past commission meetings to learn the interactions and learn about that. So I have a lot of learning to do in that area, those areas.
Thank you, but I must say that I found your whole approach very very impressive, because I think you're particularly in view of the current situation with FAA grants, we need to look at all expenses very carefully, and I think you've been doing that and really appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you, and you're very welcome.
Yeah, Mike, this is a follow-up. I think I'll mention for you because you didn't, but you've also worked closely with Mark Milne in town finance relative to know exactly how it is our town government works, which is probably the most critical aspect. You know, Mass and federal has input, but if you're not working with Mark and his finance team closely, then we're going to be behind the eight ball. And I commend you for having reached out to Mark, having had meetings, and been part of that presentation process. So, as from my perspective, you're even though don't have the direct experience, you picked up quickly, and you're right on the ball when it comes to that sort of thing. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
With that being said, Commissioner Melo, do you have a question?
Well, in order to maintain the consistency of my interaction with the other interviewees, I'm all good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, finally, we have a few minutes. I'd just like to have you give a quick.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
We have one more question on the list that we've asked everybody else that we have not asked Mike.
PFAS.
Which one is
no.
that?
Number
PFAS.
6. No, it's number 6. Based on, well, PFAS too. We've asked about PFAS.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
We also need
Yeah.
part one, number 6.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I was going to bring up actually 3 issues. One was experience relative to PFAS knowledge / mitigation, experience relative to sound mitigation and sound related problems and concerns. And finally, the one that uh, uh, Mark mentioned, which was part of my question, was the 139 related overall operations and issues of challenges that, an airport of our size faces. So if you could just give us a quick overview of those 3 issues, PFAS, sound, and 139 related operations with the size of our airport and the communities who are contiguous to us. And I mean, some of these issues better than some of the other candidates who we've asked the same question of. So we'll listen.
Okay. Thank you. PFAS was something that I couldn't spell before March 28th. I had no idea what anybody was talking about. So I did a quick Google search, and okay, that's what PFAS is. And I can understand the very grave concerns voiced by some. And so my knowledge began on really March 28th with a Google search. And then with previous assistant manager, he started filling in the gaps on specifically what's going on this airport with PFAS, and more importantly, how it's impacting the community, adversely impacting the community. And who are the players like our LSP, Brian Massa from HRP Associates, and Dan Santos, DPW Director. And I've worked with those 2 gentlemen at length trying to understand PFAS and what all these maps they show with all the pretty colors and stuff like that mean, and whose plume is whose, and what mitigations that are possible. And we went to I went to a meeting of Hyannis Water and and PFAS issues a few days ago. Marguerite was there also, and it was a great presentation by all. And our LSP, Brian Massa, gave a very nice 11, 12-minute presentation on what the airport has done, where our plume is, the extent of our plume, the vertical nature of our plume, any other plumes that are not associated with airport PFAS, and what the airport mitigations are doing, like our cap out by the eastern part of the airport, and how effective it is. And it is working, it is effective. Testing for any area of construction we might do, and analyzing those results. He did inspections of the hard stand project area where we found no detections. And now we're putting in, before we do anything with the ARF drain problem we have in the ARF and maintenance building, we're going to put some upgradient and downgradient wells to monitor those to ensure that horizontally and vertically there will be no impact to whatever we do in the ARF building, and also propose a couple more wells because we just don't have the precise location at the northern part or upgradient part of our plume. So we're going to do a shallow, medium, and deep well to figure out what's going on over there and get more precise data. And then he presented, and we've talked about it at length, going forward, what mitigations we can do, what monitoring we can do. And it's still in development, but I think we're getting very close to having that knowledge and being respectful of what we have for budgets, and if we need to ask for more in the CIP for any mitigations that go forward. So as I said at the beginning, I'm not an ops guy, I'm not an ARF guy, but I rely on Brian Massa of HRP Associates and Dan Santos for the expert opinions and form my business cases based on their input and my understanding of the issues. It doesn't excuse me from learning more about the issue, but I want to do it smartly so I can balance not only the PFAS issues, community concerns, but the safety, security of the airport, our airlines, growing them, and just making this the best airport we can. As far as sound and noise, again, I lean back to my experience in air traffic, attending quite a few noise meetings, helping on being a contributor to one of the Boston noise studies called the BLANS, Boston Logan Airport Noise Study. That was it back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then there was a continuation of that and how that grew into standard instrument departures, RNAV routes, arrivals. And it sounds good on paper, and you have to fit it to the community. But what a lot of initiatives have done, especially at Logan Airport, is we used to have what we'd call a spaghetti model where planes are going all over the sky and everybody's not happy, it seems like. So we get them on these RNAV routes and we start concentrating traffic over one area or just a couple few areas. And that's not good either because it's very unfair to the recipient of that noise. So when we start talking noise, it's not about a Hyannis, Yarmouth, Dennis, and everybody, other community around here, Centerville and whatever. It's about a very comprehensive study of where we're distributing the noise and how. So that plays a huge part. So my plan would be to have as many people from the representatives from communities from all around us looking at this. With the Boston RNAV routes, it was we did great. Everybody applauded it. And then we're getting feedback from Situate and I think it was Cohasset saying, hey, we're seeing hundreds of planes a day over our house. Why is that? Well, literally, they didn't attend meetings because there was never a problem for Situate. They were probably 50 miles flying distance from Logan Airport when the planes go east over the water and then they come back over the coast and start westbound and then they hit Situate and people are going, what's up? So want to be very, very sensitive to the impacts, the unintended consequences of what we do with noise and sound. As far as Part 139, I rely heavily on our ops department. They're the ones that do all the airfield inspections. They are on the field constantly, and I have zero knowledge of the airport as far as being a driver on the airport. And I I did my practical. I certified on the airfield. I have great communications on the radio because I've been doing it for parts of 30 years in air traffic control, 33 years. And so that wasn't an issue. My situational awareness is great, but I don't want to be on the airport unnecessarily when I have a team of professionals that are carrying out the 139 responsibilities. I delegate to them, they report to me, and it works in a very symbiotic way. And to the point where this is a team, and the assistant manager was definitely very involved, and I would have the whoever is the assistant manager be very involved with ops to ensure that our Part 139 duties, obligations, inspections are nothing but what they've been over the last few years, which is a model for the FAA, at least in the New England region. The FAA has commended this airport highly, and I'm not going to be the one to break that. We're going to get it done. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Does anyone, any other commissioner, Suzanne, any questions, issues that anyone would like to ask Mike while we still have him for the
No,
interview process?
just to be consistent, Mike, I had asked the other applicants if they had any questions for the commission during this process.
As far as this goes, no, I think we've interacted to an extent that all of my questions have been answered. And as the commission might know, I communicate and I speak my mind. And if I have a question, I ask it. If I want to tell you something, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, and I apologize if it's wrong, but I'll ask it or tell it. So I thank you, Susan. No.
Well, thank you, Mike. I know that I have had more conversations with the airport over the past 60 days than I've had in the 5 or 6 years that I've been affiliated with it. So that's a testament to you for reaching out to me on a regular basis relative to issues of concern. So I welcome that on a regular basis, so that the last thing the commission needs is to not know about something that's going on, and in turn I share it with our respective fellow commissioners. So with that being said, not hearing or seeing any other questions, we can bring the interview process to closure. Mike, thank you.
You're very welcome. Have an awesome day, everybody.
Thank
you,
you.
Mike.
Thanks,
You're
Mike.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now that concludes the beginning of our new business, which was interviews with the airport manager group. With that being said, I'm going to ask that we go into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss strategy for the selection, as well as the beginning of negotiations of a contract offer for the airport manager position. The commission will return, will return to public session after the executive session. So as chair of the airport commission, I move to go into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, parentheses 2, to discuss strategy for the selection and negotiations of a contract offer for the airport manager position, as a discussion in open session may be detrimental to the bargaining position of the airport commission. This meeting will reconvene in open session after the executive session, and I'm calling this at 11:13 a.m. on July 1st, 2025. Could I have a second to that, and then a roll call, please?
Second.
Okay, could we have a roll call to go into executive session, Suzanne?
Certainly. Chairman Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Gio,
Yes.
Clerk Weil,
Yes.
Commissioner Beerworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner DeGeorge,
Yes.
and Commissioner Melo.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to
Nope,
put,
waiting.
I'm
Waiting.
going to
Yeah.
divide everyone up into breakout rooms. And I will assign those now. If anybody wants to take maybe a quick break, now would be a good time.
I was going to
That would
suggest
be a
that.
good
Why
idea.
don't we take a 2-minute break? If anyone needs to do whatever, get a cup of coffee, glass of water, or use facilities, please do. We voted in executive session to bring executive session to close. Now we need to vote ourselves back into the public session, closing executive session, subject to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Chapter 2. Is there a second for that, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote to go back into public session?
Chairman Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Gio.
It's muted.
I got him. He's here. Okay. Clerk Weil,
Yes.
Commissioner Beerworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner DeGeorge,
Yes.
Commissioner Melo.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are back in public session at 11:43 a.m.
Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, we have as a Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission made a decision, and under item number COM 0625-1A, which reads the possible approval of the selection of airport manager for the Cape Cod Gateway Airport and subsequent contract subject to agreement by and between the town of manager, by and through the Airport Commission per Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 90. I will announce on behalf of the commission that we will be offering the position to Michael Nelson as airport manager for Cape Cod Gateway Airport Manager, effective July 1. Salary and benefits will be subject to negotiations, and the final approval for that would be at the next public meeting, which would be July 22nd. But Mike, you're on the screen, so let me be the first to offer congratulations. But before we do that, I need a second to move this forward. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I'd like a roll call vote on this. This is to approve the employment offer to Mike Nelson as permanent airport manager of Cape Cod Gateway Airport, subject to final salary negotiations and benefits, which we will do forthwith with a lot of haste, and then final approval at the July 22nd meeting, and anything that we do approve would be retroactive back to today, to the July 1 meeting. So with all of that being said, a roll call.
Chairman Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Gio,
Yes.
Commissioner Weil,
Yes.
Commissioner Beerworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner DeGeorge,
Yes.
and Commissioner Melo.
Yes.
We have a unanimous approval. Thank you.
That is terrific. Mike, congratulations. I think our unanimous vote shows the confidence we have in your ability to lead Cape Cod Gateway Airport into its next phase of existence. Towards that end, I'll be in touch with you relatively quickly to talk about salary and benefits. Know that today, July 1, would be your official appointment date, and anything that we negotiate would be announced and ratified at the July 22nd meeting, but retroactive to today. Once again, congratulations. You're on board. We expect you to be building upon the experiences of the past 90 days into a bigger and better future for the airport. So I'll let you comment, Mike.
Just want to thank all of you, the commission and ADK, for all of your efforts. Sue, it's just been wonderful. And without the staff, I wouldn't have been able to be in this position today. I really, really appreciate and am flattered by the trust and confidence the board or the commission has shown in me. And I will do everything within my power, work as hard as I can to gain that trust and expand on it to a level that is commensurate with the trust you're showing in me, because it's only been 90 days, and that was the honeymoon. Now the hard stuff begins, and I'm just going to be looking for all the support and help I can get in making this airport even greater. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Michael. With that being said, I'll go to item number 6, which is announcements. Any other comments from any commissioner that they would like to make before we move on to other items?
Nope.
Okay, not hearing or seeing any. Number 7, there are no matters right now that were not reasonably anticipated. This meeting was primarily to do the interviewing process. Sia, thank you for the leadership that you showed in the interviewing process, and I'm sure that you'll be in touch with the other candidates, letting them know what our decision was, and then also you and I will be talking relative to moving the assistant manager search forward. We do know that there were a number of folks who had applied for the permanent position as a manager. We're also interested in the assistant manager position, so we'll follow up accordingly. And Mike, obviously, whomever is hired as the assistant manager, you will be an integral part of that hiring process. I want to be sure that the number 2 person works well with you, both from a philosophical perspective and from a skill set perspective. And so I'll be looking to you for your own leadership in that area as we select that person down the road. But I'd like to get that in place also sooner than later, primarily because, obviously for the past 90 days, you have been not only the manager, but the assistant manager and the project director. And I'd like to talk to you about that project director and assistant manager,
Yes.
perhaps folding those into one, and that would be a savings for us, but that's something to be discussed. But I think the big news of today is, and I'll bring this final to closure before I ask for adjournment, is really, Mike, congratulations. You've shown leadership over the past 90 days. You've taken the bull by the horns, so to speak, addressed the issues from budget to staff to PFAS, to getting that temporary structure up and running, to welcoming JetBlue, welcoming American, as well as really being upfront with us, discussing issues of concern that you and I talked about at length in terms of leadership styles and management and what our expectations were. So right now, normally there is a honeymoon time frame, usually the first 100 days of when someone's appointed. So you've been here 90 days, you have 10 days left for the honeymoon, and then it's done. So with that being said, Norm, you have a question?
Just one comment. I think we need to also recognize Suzanne for the effort that she's been playing in the
Absolutely.
last 90 days.
Yes.
That has been above and beyond, and doing work above and beyond an executive assistant. So we'll probably have some discussions about that, but I want to recognize what she's done to hold us all together. I think really help Mike out, help the rest of the team out. And at least from my perspective, it doesn't go unnoticed. So I thank
Right.
you.
Thank you very much.
I would
Appreciate that.
I would second that. I mean, when this whole process began, I went to Suzanne directly and said, Suzanne, I need you to be the point person in all of this relative to the relationship with ADK and across the board. Mike's going to be the new guy on campus. I mean, you know where everything is. You've been probably from an experience perspective, a long tenured employee here at the airport, and you've done just a terrific job. So I want to second that commendation and recognize it somewhere down the road also in a special way.
Thank
We really
you.
greatly appreciate what you've done.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from anyone? Wendy?
Just real quickly, Mike, I would probably describe your first 90 days as baptism by fire rather than a honeymoon.
Exactly.
I'll agree.
Okay, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn, and our next meeting will be on July 22nd, where we will announce Mike's appointment as well as the finally agreed upon salary and benefits that we'll discuss after this meeting. So motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, that brings us to closure. I want to thank everybody for their effort, their energy, for being online since about 8:30 this morning, and we'll keep this all moving forward. Mike, again, congratulations. I know you have me on speed dial. I think I have you now on speed dial, so we'll keep the communication open. But thank you all very, very much.